It was headed by the Rockefellers, and they took control of education. And that's why there's no financial education in our schools.
Yeah.
Because the rich like it that people are stupid financially.
Do the rich people cringe and say, don't tell them that, Rob?
Yes. Don't tell people what you know. Keep them poor. And so the people right now who are sitting at home, who are struggling financially or worried about money or unhappy, they may be making a lot of money, but unhappy with what they're doing, it was probably taught to you. Your superego was taught, get a job, work hard, or you'll never be rich, or the rich are evil, or whatever. But the thing is that we become creatures of our own habits. And until we break the habit, we don't change. But I came from a family with a poor attitude, if you know what I mean. Rich, poor, middle class, poverty starts with a fundamental attitude. And suddenly I realized I was poor because it's relative, as Einstein, it's all relative. My classmates were mostly white guys. And these guys, their fathers owned the banks, they owned the plantations, they owned the car dealerships, they owned the meat packing company, they owned the ranches. And I'm going, how come my dad doesn't own that? So I remember raising my hand when I was 9 years old, talking to my fourth grade teacher, and I said, when am I going to learn about money? We don't teach money at school. I said, why not? And she couldn't answer me. And she got very flustered. She said, sit down, take your seat. Go ask your father. He's my boss. I go home and ask him, said, why don't we learn about money in school? And he looked at me and said, because the government doesn't let us teach that subject. The government tells us what we can teach and what we can't teach. And I thought that was strange. And I said, but aren't we going to school to learn about money? He says, no, your job is to get a job. I said, but you get a job to earn money. He goes, no, you're supposed to just get a job. I went, no. Isn't the purpose of a job to earn money? He goes, you're correct. I said, so why don't I just learn about money? I can skip the job part, And he got flustered and he said, why don't you ask your best friend's father about money? So I asked him. He said, because Mike's father is an entrepreneur. And I said, what are you? He says, I'm an employee. I'm a government employee. Oh, what's the difference? He says, the difference is an entrepreneur must know about money. And he says an employee doesn't have to know anything about money. But I took my dad's advice and I trundled over to Mike's father's office and knocked on his door and I said, hey, I'm here, 9 years old. Teach me about money. He says, beat it, kid, But that's where the story of Rich Dad, Poor Dad started. I think my father was making about $20,000 a year. And when I graduated from school, from college, I was making $120,000 a year. 6 times the amount he made. And I was 21 years old. And he goes, how'd you do that? I said, I didn't go to the same school you went to. And he can't understand it. Because he's a poor man in mind and in soul. He says, you've become like one of those rich guys. And I said, just because I have money? So, and then when people ask me, how did your rich dad learn this when your poor dad, a PhD, didn't? And the answer is very simply, my rich dad was like my best friend's father. His father died when he was 13. So rich dad had this family business at 13 to run. So he had to drop out of school, which was his blessing. There's blessings and, sometimes the blessing doesn't look like a blessing, but it turned out to be a blessing. And then his teachers became his bookkeeper, his accountant, his attorney, his banker, his real estate agents. So he has what I call real teachers, not these fake teachers in school. But, unfortunately, the poor will always be amongst us because it starts up here.
Right, it's that fear mentality.
It's in their words, and the words become flesh. But when they say, I can't afford it or I can't do that, they become what they say. And I meet so many people, I can't afford it. You think I'm made of money? My PhD dad, he says, what do you think I am, made of money? I can't afford that. And my rich dad would say, that's why he's poor. Poor people say, I can't afford it, I can't do that, I don't have time. Because this is an escape. It's an escape. You know what I mean? It's easy to say, I can't afford it. Oh, I'm too tired. Oh, I can't go to the gym.
Right. And your rich dad used to say what instead of, I can't afford it?
How can I afford it? How can I do that? You know, what would it take, or why should I do that? A question opens the mind, a statement closes the mind. So when you say, I can't afford it, your mind shuts down, and you become what you say. You know, people say, well, money is not that important to me. Then if money is not that important to you, money is not important to you. I don't care about money. The money doesn't care about you. You know, the word does become flesh. Or I'll never be rich. Or the favorite one is the rich are greedy. It's the poor that are greedy. You know, if you think about it, because to be rich, you have to give something. You know, you have to. I have to produce books and games, and I purchase real estate, I provide housing, provide jobs and all that. That's why I'm rich. But greedy people produce nothing. I've had financial crashes. I've had people stab me in the back, but they're all good because I grow from it. That's spirituality. You know, people who are afraid of making mistakes, like they teach in school, they don't ever grow. Because spirituality is there's good and there's bad, there's right and there's wrong, there's up and there's down. Most people only want to be right, they only want to be positive. Well, you can't have that. That's not reality. And the average person, the reason they're poor is they haven't failed. You know, they play it so safe. They haven't made any mistakes like they taught in school. That means they don't learn anything.
And until you change your mindset,
Correct.
Money won't help you, right?
Correct.
And we see that with people that win the lottery, people that make more money, they still have the same problem.
Right.
Because they have that poor man's soul.
Correct. If you're poor, you'll always be poor.
That's really hard for people to understand.
Yeah, the money will disappear that fast. Just like most pro athletes, you know, they make millions of dollars, and but 65% are bankrupt 5 years later. It's because they come from poor families. Now you tell them that, they get very angry at you. It's not, it's the rich fault. You know, you guys ripped me off. Government ripped me off. But unfortunately, what Mr. Lipton was saying, it's passed down genetically. That's the frightening. We all have fear. And to be truthful, we all have fear. It's just how you deal with it. And you know, Einstein said, you know, imagination is more important than knowledge, but knowledge empowers imagination.